Welcome back. We are into the last session of today. This session, I'd like to thank the organizers for keeping this session on the Northeast and Myanmar because, the past 2 days we have seen the Northeast have been a critical factor in India's Myanmar policy. So I think keeping a specific session on this is, I think, we will be able to get deeper into the issues of the Northeast and Myanmar. I just have one request to make with the panelists here. In the previous session, we have discussed comprehensively the security dimension and the management of border. So I was thinking if this session could focus on issues such as economic, social, and also maybe attempt to focus on a few questions that I think I have in mind, which is where does the Northeast fit into the larger Delhi's regional diplomacy in the context of Look East, Act East policy? Also, see what are the major challenges of economic development in the Northeast. There, I think security development nexus is an important issue. So, if the and also if the panelists could also respond to some of the speakers, some of the presentations in the previous session, I think that will make more will be able to contribute more into understanding these issues. We have an excellent panel in this session. We have Dr. Rakhee Bhattacharya. She's an associate professor in JNU. We have Dr. Amarjeet Singh. He is with the Jamia Millia Islamia. And of course, Dr. Jiten is with Manipur University. In the order of this program, may I ask Dr. Bhattacharya to make the presentation?
It's almost time to say good night to all of you. It's really been a very long day, and I hope you all have patience to listen to still 3 more papers on Northeast, which is one of the most important region to understand to develop Indo-Myanmar relation. But thankfully, our previous session, all the speakers have extensively mentioned on Northeast and spoken about Northeast, as our chairman also has mentioned. And what we will do, as he desired, we will try to focus on those issues which were missing in the previous session. And I'll try to summarize on my presentation as specifically as possible. Now, my presentation will have 3 broad sections. One is changing, first section will deal with changing India and changing Myanmar. Next section, Whither Northeast India. And the last section, Indo-Myanmar Development Agenda in Northeast Perspective. So I begin with the first section, that is changing India and changing Myanmar. In May 2014, Indian democracy has witnessed an absolute people's mandate for a new, stable, and dynamic government. The hope of this new horizon is not restrained to domestic nuances of economic growth and development, but to a large extent spills over to rebuild international relations, especially with the eastern neighboring nations, through neighborhood first policy. The very strategic visit of our present Prime Minister to a small and cordial nation, Bhutan, as his first foreign destination, followed by Nepal, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and China within this short span of time, shows India's renewed commitment to its Look East policy, which is now renamed as Act East policy. Incidentally, the toughest neighbor of India, the Myanmar, is also undergoing political transition from an isolated military rule nation towards a doorstep of democracy, which is a ray of hope not only to Myanmar but to entire sub-region. Its step towards such glasnost may help the region to begin a new chapter in geopolitics and geoeconomics in this entire sub-region. Myanmar economy, which is presently repressed and ranks as 161st out of 186 nation in Economic Freedom Index in 2014 and 150th out of 187 nations in Human Development Index in 2014 is yet to catch up with the global, regional, and open trade partnership. Such a situation demands forceful economic restructuring, not only within the nation, but engagement across transnational level. The present President Thein Sein is now being hailed as country's Gorbachev, but it is too early to make any definite pronouncement on such changes. India's attempts towards economic engagement with such a country at this moment needs a skilled diplomatic persuasion, along with effective, attractive, trustworthy trade and economic policies, along with her active support towards democratization of Myanmar's polity and society. Now, this is an opportunity for India's much troubled Northeast. Though such transition is not yet time-tested and security issues can anytime overrule the constructive engagement, and the recent incident of NSC&K crossfire followed by army operation reminds us that Indian government needs careful, patient and sensitive interference in this region, both at policy and action level. Having a viable and stable geopolitics and geoeconomics in this region is fundamental to India's Northeast, and restoring a vibrant and peaceful Northeast is essential to sustain sub-regional engagement. Now, to make this two-way causal relationship to happen, there should be three ways. Number one, Northeast needs to be proactive and an equal partner and actor in this transition. Number two, to make this happen, economic institutions like market has to be competitive and efficient rather than a transit and dumping ground. Number three, deficit in cross-border transit infrastructure connectivity needs to be restored. So I go to the next section, that is Whither Northeast India. We have to understand this little briefly. Now, Northeast India, to everybody's knowledge, became a borderland during colonial restructuring and thus was closed and isolated region. Its organic socio-economic spreads across natural flows of people and product within the neighbors was disrupted and became an economically non-viable and dependent region and gained geostrategic importance. This situation started to become volatile in the post-independent period when various internal political economic challenges started surfacing amidst various Delhi-centric policies towards the region. The national policies of India many a times have ignored and bypassed this region, and thus the problem continues. The most noticeable amongst them was India's Lookist policy in 1991, which aimed to rebuild relation with India's east and southeast without having concrete plans for northeast, which is geographically the nearest to those destinations. About 2 decades later, the Vision 2020 document was pronounced for Northeast in 2008 as a proper roadmap, and a proper roadmap was charted for the first time where, number one, Northeast India was conceptualized in transnational space. Number two, the importance of stabilizing relations with neighboring nations was emphasized. Major policy initiatives for connectivity and overall development strategy have given a new ray of hope once again to the region. Now, with the renewed Act East policy, Northeast once again awaits future initiatives. I go to the main part of my paper, that is Indo-Myanmar Development Agenda in Northeast Perspective. Borderland security perspective has remained one of the dominant issues in the relationship between India and its eastern neighboring nation for last 7 decades of independence, and Myanmar is not an exception, which shares 1643-kilometer long boundary with Northeast. The administrative boundary was drawn by the British government, which unfortunately has divided the homelands of many ethnic groups in the region, and subsequently their voices and demands were submerged in the larger national interest through various cross-border activities like trade, and commerce continued, which is a compulsion of geography and fact of history. It is therefore goes without saying that Indo-Myanmar relation is imperative to improve the age-old border relations, where 4 states of Northeast, namely that, as you all know, Myanmar, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh are involved. Improving overall border relation, having trade and other economic activities as priority, would be in all speculation bring human security to the region, especially to the people of about 240 border villages who live in persistent threats. Keeping this in mind, the formal border trade was commenced in 1995 in the aftermath of first phase of Lukist policy through custom posts in More in Manipur and Zauthakar in Mizoram, corresponding to Tamu and Ri in Myanmar, with 22 initially and extended up to 40 permissible items at 5% duty. This was expected to boost the border trade, but in reality, the formal trade across the border has not improved over years, and the region has collected net revenue worth of only about 29.35 crores in 2010-11. And from 20 land custom station. Now, border trade has rather gone down to mere rupees 4 crores in 2010 from 8 crores in 2006-07 to from 87 crores in 1997-98. So it's a gradual decline that we see. This has made India the lowest border trade partner in Myanmar. Creation of Nampolong market in Myanmar's side, insurgency and illegal extortion, along with the infrastructure deficits, are some of the reasons for declining trade, especially in More border. Rather, unofficial trade between India and Myanmar through this northeast corridor is much higher, about 2,200 crores. This is the estimate made by the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade in 2007, which now runs in tens of millions. It is still primarily the More of Manipur in Asian Highway 1, which handles about 99% of the formal border trade, followed by Champai Road through Mizoram and Longwa through Nagaland. The number of traders in More has gone down merely to 3 in the recent times from 40 about in the beginning in 1995. The local Manipuris have always remained the marginal players in border trade. China, on the contrary, through its Ruili border, is making extensive trade with Myanmar and tops the list, followed by Thailand, Bangladesh. Myanmar's border trade with China is about $977 million, followed by Thailand, which is about $300 million, Bangladesh $32 million, and India is at the bottom with $15 million. It is certainly a big challenge to improve the figures by opening more formal trade and commerce centers like border huts in several border areas, like as I think Rajiv has already shown us those areas, so I won't mention those areas. So if one looks at the corresponding figure of bilateral trade volume between India and Myanmar in these 3 years, that is 1997, 2006-07 and 2010-11, that is reflecting the 3 phases of Lukist policy, I have estimated the figures. The share of the trade between India and Myanmar has actually gone down from 0.36 to 0.30 to 0.22 in 2010-11, which has gained little bit and in 2014-15 by 0.26. Compared to ASEAN, it is much lower, the figure, right? I also have export and import figure. I'm not narrating those. If anyone is interested, I can pass on the table. Now, so at this hour, when Myanmar economy is expected to open, India in general and Northeast in particular has to provide more emphasis to improve trade, both in terms of trend and composition, and then moving beyond to longer economic engagement covering energy and gas. In terms of transnational connectivity between these two nations, which has gained importance only in last decade, we all know. Number one, Kaladan multimodal transport project was formalized in 2008, linking Mizoram to Myanmar. Number two, 81,000 kilometer long transnational highway network to connect Northeast to Myanmar. Number three, 16,300 kilometer transnational highway link from Moreh to Myanmar to reach Moesue in Thailand as part of India-Myanmar Thailand trilateral highway. Now, once these three mega connectivity projects are over by next couple of years, Northeast India possibly will find a concrete space in Act East policy, and relation with Myanmar in particular will improve. Through these three mega connectivity projects, there can be substantive enhancement in transport infrastructure, trade opportunity, improved access to food supply, employment opportunities on project maintenance, economic and market development for local, small, medium-sized enterprises in Northeast. Other infrastructure in Northeast like coal storage, electricity supply also need to be initiated, which can to a large extent improve the border trade environment. Thus, reshaping Indo-Myanmar development frame requires restoring basic features of development environment in 4 states of Northeast. Here, Delhi and Yangon are not the sole players, but the local perspective of Northeast is very important, whose development indicators are still at dismal scenario. One very recent figure on urban socio-economic caste census data shows that the highest BPL households are in Manipur with 55% and Mizoram with 52%. Unless such impoverishment is improved, balance of trade will be highly unfavorable despite neighborhood transition and attempts towards Act East policy. Such states of the region have some states of the region have already started rolling forward. Tripura is one such state which has made tremendous effort to turn its violent border to a vibrant one and is presently in news for many big achievements like removing AFSPA, having zero account in insurgency, and moving forward with cross-border engagement with another changing neighbor, Bangladesh. Other troubled states of Northeast, of course barring Manipur, also are trying to restore peace and stability, giving rise to hope and optimism amongst the people. In this opportune moment, the government is keen to resolve the pending issues and bring cross-border development and connectivity to the region. Thus, the passing of historic land boundary agreement bill of 1947 with Bangladesh certainly ensures the credibility of the new government to resolve and establish a new faith of cross-border relation. Such local proactive leadership at this hour to leverage such expanding scope of Act East policy, having a very strong regional dimension is very important. Similarly, for Indo-Myanmar relation, Manipur needs to play a pivotal role. Both Delhi and Imphal have to work patiently, especially when Imphal is again turbulent on the issue of inner line permit. But the idea of developing Moreh as one of the 100 smart cities may be a strategic move, provided regional and local voices and participation is there. To attain regional dimension, Northeast needs to understand the interplay of two dominant factors of market forces and economic policy of Act East frame. As Northeast has many traditional market structures, they need to be connected, revamped, competitive in terms of size, productivity, and linkage. This will help to gain economic relations with the neighbors in terms of balance of trade, FDI, and tourism, which is presently again in dismal scenario. India's FDI has high regional concentration with top 6 states like Maharashtra, New Delhi, Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh accounting for about 70% of FDI equity between 2008-9 to 2011-12. Assam, which includes 6 other northeastern states, accounts 0% of FDI. Also, northeastern states are at the bottom in terms of receiving foreign tourists. So now the biggest challenge of development of the Modi government lies ahead of the impending election of both Myanmar and Manipur. To make Northeast as a vibrant trade and economic corridor within Act East frame, India needs to work patiently both with local actors as well well as Myanmar and the counterpart. Thank you. I won't go further because I know both Amarjeet and Jiten will talk more intensively on Manipur, and we will take up in the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. For, I think you have brought in the dimension of geoeconomics into the discussion in the context of the Northeast, which I think is critical, and also linking that to the Lookist policy, Actist policy. Thank you. May I now ask Dr. Jiten to...
My presentation, I think I have already presented in this Delhi dialogue. I mean, ICWA and then MIAS, they organized a conference, and then that security part, I placed the issues, and then some of might be familiar. And then the things which I wanted to prepare and which I wanted to share has already been said by the previous speakers, and even the previous session also they have already. And some of the points which they have said and which they have discussed, from my being a a person born and brought up in that region, I have some skeptical notions, whatever they say. So what I feel and what I have experienced during my field work and during the course of my studies and how I formulate the things, I just want to translate the things. Let me try that one. So the world has changed after this post-Cold War, Even the whole world is giving priority, apart from many things, the most priority is given to the human security. But, in the context of this Northeast region, it's just opposite. This is, in this angle, let me try to dissect a few of the points. And some are in the opinion is that Northeast is poor because there is conflict. And on the other hand, there is conflict, so therefore Northeast is poor. But neither of the phrases is correct in my understanding. And for these two propositions, some are saying that there should be development. But in the Northeastern context, development is at the cost of national security, not the cost of human security. This is what I perceive. So for this, we need to understand the very notion of Northeast, how the concept of Northeast was formulated, and how the post-colonial Indian states retain this kind of formation by the colonial period. And side by side, let me try to share some of the issues, which we are facing in this border area. Say about border threat, about ICP, whatever the things, Let me try to dissect. And one, I'm also a very, fear is that, when I talk about the Northeastern, from the Northeastern's perspective, people are colored, those speakers, as if, colored in the tone, the semantic, which I am going to use. So sometimes that makes, stigma the speaker's standing point. And on the other hand, why should I, keep all those inconvenient truths, under the carpet, So from that angle, let me try to discuss the issues. As we all know that this is, when we talk of this Northeastern concept, at the academic level also, it's something like give as a prisoner of geography, like stigmatizing the region as a strip-torn area, like, as in HIV infected region, like an insurgency-prone area, something like that, without understanding the ground reality, what's happening in that area. This thing, these things needs to be reconsidered, rethink, while we try to understand, see, without this, by understanding the silenced life world of the people of this region, we cannot define this Northeastern region. So to my understanding, I borrowed the phrase from William Bone's candle. This is nothing but the geography of knowing and the geography of ignorance. We know the geography, but those people who are trying to understand, or those people who are, studying Northeast, they don't know the region, the people. So without knowing the region and the people, how can you study, how can you know the distinct Northeastern people? It's a challenge, as my previous speakers, Northeast region, during the pre-colonial period, the history of Northeastern region is the history of the Yhomes, the Metis. They were there was kings and rulers, kingdoms happening. And then British came, and then those cities and kingdoms turned into a frontier region for their colonial administration, and so on and so forth. And then after that, Manipur was, or Northeastern, was merged into the Indian Union, and then, instead of re-rectifying the notion which created by the British colonial concept, rather it engaged, by the Indian administrator as a disturbed area, and then frontier zone. This shows that, to my understanding, if you want to know the history of Northeastern region, then it's complementary, it's the history of Assam Rifles, If you go through the history of Assam Rifles, then you'll understand the history of Northeastern region. That means the concept of garrison mentality is always preconceived in the minds when the Northeastern region was, merged into the Indian Union. And then the penetration of the capitalist economy into the cultural modes of traditional ethnic societies due to ruptures and destruction. And then the contestation established. Within this Northeastern region, it's not a homogeneous region. Because as far as my understanding, as far as my knowledge is concerned, and then my in-depth field work, ethnically, it's a diverse, it's a heterogeneous region. In Manipur, there are more than, all right, obviously there are 33 ethnic communities, but there are more than 33 ethnic communities. In Nagaland also there are, in Mizoram, in Assam. It's a combination of heterogeneous identity which evolving within Northeastern region, though the geographical region is too small. And some are in the opinion so. From that only, some are trying to define that Northeast India is not only the northeastern borderland of South Asia, but also the northwestern borderland of Southeast Asia. This frame, some of the scholars, they are trying to project in this area. That's why the concept of Asia, even from the insurgency groups of Northeastern region, they just try to propound a new concept. Instead of using, deconstructing the notion of Northeastern concept, they construct this Western Southeast Asia. So why the reveals and the ethnic upsurge? The structural transformation in society and polity and the attitude of the social superiority driven by the national security led to national liberation movement with their historical justification. That also, they have the historical justification. And in the developmental aspect, the emergence of the region as a site of new interests for resource extraction and corporate sector-oriented threat under the guise of development enhanced environmental degradation, and ultimately leads to ethnic rivalries, and some are trying to earn. Within this, in the developmental process, so also, it erupts ethnic, rivalries among the ethnic communities also. The historical justification as regard to the Manipur is that the historical justification is 1949. It's very important for the insurgency groups, because Manipur was not a part of India and it was only merged in 1949. But for the common people, the people at that time hoped that the standard of life will be prosperous and there will be no social inequality in India. The people of that time hoped when Manipur was merged. This is the people's concept. but it doesn't materialize. The hope was shattered. And even the root causes of the ethnic movement also diverge between the Meiteis, the Nagas, the Mizos, Assams, and Kukis. We need to understand these aspects also. And Pushpinda Das speaks about that the northeastern regions, they form a group, consolidated form like IVRF and the recent formation of left Western Southeast Asia. But to my understanding, yes, these insurgent groups try to form this kind of confederation, but the story of confederation formed by the insurgent group is a story of failure. We need to understand. And some are trying to exaggerate these things, So the only Indian response is during the colonial period, this Fort William, which is in Calcutta, is done by the military deployment in this region. That's why the history of Northeast India is the history of Assam Rifles, and became these things. But one of the positive aspect of India is that to taming these insurgency groups, India is one of the successful country in the world to control rebels, because this includes peace talk, suspension operations, and surrender policies and extradition treaties. These things happening in this northeast region. But side by side, because of this policy, because of the surrender policy, there are a lot of surrenders are coming, but the number of insurgency groups are goes and gone. This needs to be understood in this area also. Looks carefully. But in reality, as Bhattacharya also said, these activities, the insurgent activities in this region, to my understanding, there is no real activities, except sporadic things, except in their anniversary, like annual anniversary things, we might heard a few sounds of the guns and some balloons, or some propaganda message, something like that. Nothing more than that. In reality. And earlier, we do believe that yes, the way how the rebellions did is our way of life. But the experience which we had experienced in my region and the way they did is not the way of life. It's their way to life. Means extortions, killings. These things happening here. So insurgency is not the issue. People are talking about this 4 June 2000, that is the ambush. And this Max NSN case leader, Supermo Kaplang, larger than the life size, I feel a little bit funny, in these things, In reality, India has a ceasefire with NSCNK. And then ultimately it broke bounds, There must be some reasons, I don't know. But some of the general perception is that because of that breaking down of this ceasefire, NSCNK wanted to show the power, the muscles, that we have the power. Like that, it could retain the original things. This is the people's perception. But to my understanding, that bomb, that very ambush is very much related with the election. That is ADC election, Autonomous District Council's election. And Autonomous District Council election and NSCN is having a big nexus. So in order to delegitimize those power, those relations, the NSCNK might have done that ambush. This is one of the people's perception in our, in the state. So, and another is, this is the question to Bhattacharya also, why NSCNK perform or done that ambush with the small groups like KCP and KYL, not with the INLF and not with the PLA. We need to understand this thing also. Yeah, people are talking about this ICP, that is integrated check post, and I don't know, someone shows about the picture, good pictures, you know. 13 times the government of Myanmar oppose and give, you know, injunction letters to the border, yeah, to stop this construction of ICP, because the land belongs to Myanmar. This is the only things. And even the More, what we are talking about, More itself also claimed by the government of Myanmar. So, and the border dispute is, you know, let me tell you, this is in the Manipur part. Border number 75, 23, 77, 78, up to 81. I've been there, I've gone all these things, you know. And the only disputed, the most disputed thing is border number, this 23. To them, 23, ours is 65, 66. They have posted, the Myanmar's army posted their post on that very spot. And then Indian army could not enter. I was trying to enter, you know, I was about to shoot by the Myanmar's army, you know. Earlier, I could enter and I could take the photos, but because of the disputed, all these things happen. Myanmar's army, you know, they make a fence over there just near the border, that pillar, and then they make a camp, and then, you know, even the army could not enter that area. So, ICP, see the Petrapot ICP. Same year, this ICP in More should have also been started, but still not yet coming up. And then, because of this disputed, they have shifted to another area. So it will take a lot of time. On the other hand, Myanmar is doing one-stop service, as in the context of this border trade. You know, they did very well. They are keeping infrastructure secondary, but the administration, the administrative work, they are giving priority, and they did that work, you know, in a very full swing. For India, you know, we are very much, you know, engaging, relying on these infrastructural things in this matter. And this border fencing is also, a problem. A problem is that the two governments, while, you know, the agreement of 1967, during this year, Manipur was not a state, so we could not have a say to the central government. Manipur was a union territory those days. So the agreement between the government of India and the government of Myanmar at Yangon, sitting at Yangon, and they signed this agreement without any considering the, you know, the people's view, and without knowing the ground reality of that disputed area. So they signed at Yangon. That is the factor, you know, the dispute is erupted. So we need to think, we need to rethink that, you know, understanding, that agreement, and brought in the people's, you know, perception also, domain also. And the border threat, let me conclude. Border threat, you know, how can we define the concept of informal threat, you know, informal and formal, you know? To my understanding and to my our point of view, you know, what you have said, informal is formal. And that informal way of life makes our life survival. And it's a question of survival. So these, you know, out of these 62 items, only one tradable item, you know, we are doing. That is betel nut. Say hardly 7 crores in a month. Say it's 7 crores is in May 2015 report. But per day at the informal sector, it's about 1 crore, excluding that illicit part. We need to understand, you know, that legal, illegal things, you know, we need to understand the licit and illicit. Excluding the illicit part, the average is 1 crore. And then we are talking about this connectivity and Imphal Mandalay bus service, railway, and all these things. It's an utopian dream. Imphal Mandalay service. India is developing Indo-Myanmar friendship road up to Kale Mio, about 165 or something kilometers. It's long way back. Yeah. On the other hand, if you go through this Myanmar to Naypyidaw, China is developing how many lanes? It's very uncomparable with China and India. But no, that road is not in a good position as of now. And then we are talking about this railway also. Yes, railhead will be coming up to Tupul, just near Imphal, no doubt. My skeptical point is, if the railhead is reaching Imphal, then the Nagaland part will be again becoming a frontier within frontier. If the Tinsukia line detour Dimapur and reach Guwahati, and if the railhead line reach Imphal, then the region, half of the region will be a frontier within frontier. So then what about the people? We need to understand this aspect also, not only the reaching or all these things, And this thing, I had gone through this Moretamu Kale Yarji Moniwa Mandle, and then Moretamu Kalimio Gango Moniwa, this thing. There are 2 roads. One is just touching Chin, and another is just inside the Sagaing things. But within this, we need to develop, the government needs to develop about 48 bridges, It's in a horrible condition. It's a Second World War bridges, And we are talking about the smart city and education, health. And some are talking about this opium and all these things, The area is malaria-prone area. So the only survival of the people is to take opium for their longer life. What can we give the alternative suggestion? This needs to be considered, number 1. And then number 2, we have, yes, we can give, in the education sector also, the Myanmar government de-recognized the certificate, given by the Manipur University. This needs to be, taken into care, while, talking with the government-to-government level. People are talking about this think tank, say, ICWA, IDSA, they have engaged with the MIAS. And in Calcutta also, Dagong University and then Calcutta University, they have in the Memorandum of Understanding. But if you think Northeast region is one of the most important part for engaging this Northeastern region, why not, we have also a lot of universities inside this Northeastern region also. Why can't we have relation or a memorandum understanding with the Mandalay University, Kale University, or something like that? This part negates the thing. So this shows that the relation between India and Myanmar is a flyover relation. And even the developing of this smart city is very unhealthy from the people's perspective, though it will help to the few individual middle classes. Yeah, right. And my conclusion is, how does India perceive Northeast? Is it an asset or a liability, or just a passage to Asian market? And the model of development associated with the process of militarization ultimately creates problems rather than solution. This itself creates insecurity in the region. And any issue related with the security and development should understand Northeastern first and its people from the grassroots, and the cartography should be from the Northeastern canvases. Above all, human security should be given priority in the context of Northeastern region. And if this is not successfully executed, Northeast in the Indian-Myanmar development dynamics could be missing trees while looking at the woods. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jiten. I think your approach to concepts and redefining, trying to deconstruct some of the existing notions of the region of concepts, I think it's important when we are talking about trying to open up the region to the outside world. And I think that perspective and the local perspective that you bring into the presentation. Now, may I call Dr. Amarjeet to...
Firstly, I wish to thank the ISPB program at NIAS for giving me this opportunity, especially to my friend, Mail. So now, it's already 6:15, so I won't take much time. So what I will do is that I will just, in about 5 to 6 minutes, I will just flag some points. So these are the issues that I have been asked. I mean, when in the concept note, why the engagement with Myanmar is important, and what is the perspectives of the northeastern states on Myanmar, and whether the government of India, borders or the factors, the issues and the interests of the northeastern states. So now this is in last March I went to Manipur as well as to Myanmar, and that was the part of the Prime Ministers of India's initiative. So this is what is the border, as you know, is a very underdeveloped border, as many people have said, inhabited by the poor and who are least politically insignificant. But at the same time, I'm very optimistic that now there is a hope for a better future in this part of the world. So therefore, what we see is that borders, these are the political borders, okay, created due to political reasons. And many of the borders in this world were created by the colonial forces. So likewise, the borders came into existence in this part of the world. So therefore, what we see is that there are people who simply ignore the existence of this border. But at the same time, there are also people who obey this border. So this is a very, so there are, some, the relations between on both sides of the border. But at the same time, in this underdeveloped part, the state is also seen as is seen as something who, unnecessary infringe on the freedom of the people. So this is how and now there has been an increasing interest in the study of this border among the anthropologists, sociologists, as well as the political scientists. So this is what the India-Myanmar border, the fencing at More. So I have been to this area. So the purpose of this, there are various reasons why this fencing was started. There are, apart from the known reasons, there are also other vested interests. So it was supposed to fence up to about 9.8 kilometers. Unfortunately or fortunately, the border, the fencing work has stopped at about, say, 3.9 kilometers. So I don't know the rest, whether that will take place in the near, I don't know. So I talked to, when we went to More, so we asked many people, those who are involved in the construction. People said various reasons. Land disagreement, non-availability of funds, and there are also some people say there are relatives on both sides of the border. So therefore, that kind of, is there. So, but at the same time, the people on both sides of the border, they depend on each other. But what we see is that people, those who are inhabiting the peripheral areas of Myanmar, are more dependent to the Indian side, because in the Indian sides you have the, if not the good road, there are small roads, narrow roads, there are small markets, there are small schools, or there are, so that kind of is there. So what I will do now, this is the Namphalong market. So what I see is that, the Northeast India is so diverse, ethnically as well as, and its interests. Each state has their, specific interests. There is no, one common interest for Northeast India. Say, as for example, we are talking about Myanmar. Myanmar is very important for some states, as for example, like Manipur, or Nagaland, or Mizoram. But on the other hand, states like, say, Tripura. For Tripura, Bangladesh is more important, It has Sierra. But of course, I'm saying that, of course, Myanmar is also important for Tripura. But what I'm saying is that in terms of the current situation, So this is the Kabo Valley in Myanmar. So I took this photo from the Assam Rifles camp. The other one is the road in front of the Pamu market. So what I see is that now there is an increasing, interest in the study of this region. Okay. So how this engagement with Myanmar is, why it is so important. So Northeast India, especially like the states like Manipur, always look for a politically stable and strong Myanmar. Okay, so this is what we gather when we do field work in various parts of, say, the Manipur. But at the same time, there are also feedbacks from other side of the border where they see for a better and the prosperous Northeast India. So therefore, why the engagement with Myanmar is important in this context is, one, what we all say is that the Northeast India is a landlocked region, okay? It became a landlocked borderland after 1947 partition of India. So therefore, for people like who lives in Manipur to go to Delhi by train or by bus, it's a very, very difficult, it's a very difficult and it's a very long journey that takes. But now, what will be very interesting is that if Manipur, states like Manipur can establish, can have, better connectivity with the city of Mandalay. I'm not bothered about whether Manipur, that roads leads to Bangkok or Thailand or Singapore. What for Manipur, the immediate or in the long-term interest is to have better connectivity with the city of Mandalay. This is what I feel is very, very important is, because connectivity with various other towns and cities, of course, is very important. But at this point of time, the Northeast India is also a backward region. Then, on the other side, is also not so developed region. So therefore, the priority should be to connect to Mandalay. That will help in terms of, in terms of, boosting the, trade and other activities, not in a very big way, okay? Because I never expect for a very, robust trade activities between Northeast India and Myanmar. That is not going to happen for many, many years, because we know our the situations, the market, the availability, the skill of the people, the human resources. So there are large number of limitations. But we can start with, as for example, the much awaited the bus service between Imphal and Mandalay. That is about, say, 500 something kilometer. But there are hurdles for this also, because the road in some part is not good. But that is what is very important. And another importance for in the immediate, concern is, as many people have said about, in terms of the insurgency in the situations. So therefore, the questions that has been, asked is that what is the perspective of Northeast states on Myanmar and their linkages? Okay, everybody has talked about the linkages, the people, the ethnic linkages, religious linkages. So I don't need to repeat this. So I think that the Myanmar understand the importance of better connectivity and trade with the northeastern states, if not in a big way. Okay, I mean, at least Myanmar, when I said Myanmar, I mean to say that the peripheral areas, those who have some kind of economic linkages and kinship, affinities, okay. So that is what I feel. So however, at this point of time, Myanmar is unlikely to, accord due importance to these regions for various reasons. There are domestic reasons in Myanmar. There are also other various issues in Northeast India. So at the same time, the northeastern states, including Manipur, doesn't expect too much from Myanmar because of all these reasons, because the problems, there are opportunities, but at the same time, there are also lots of challenges. The physical connectivity is bad. So the market is not there. So, and the population is very thin, as have been noted earlier. So this is what, so at the both sides, there are hope for a better future, but at the immediate, we cannot expect for a very, a robust, economic or trade relationship. The last point is the concern and interest of the northeastern state that has been stated several times. Okay, so I will not repeat into this. So therefore, coming to the, and to add to the look is policy, or the egg is policy. Maybe after a year it can be something, another, the nomenclature can change. The look is policy, I must say that, why Northeast is into this policy strategy, there can be no India's look is policy even without the involvement of Northeast India. Okay, no problem, because the trade with the Southeast Asia can be through the sea, through the Bay of Bengal. You don't need to go through the hills, roads in, say, Nagaland or Manipur. So the trade can be through the sea. That is very safe. So therefore, but because of the geographical locations and because of the common border with Myanmar and the issue of this counterinsurgency, that led to the Northeast India into the prism of this look is policy strategy. That is what I see. So therefore, in the look is, when we talk about the look is policy in the Northeast, there are lots of hype. There are lots of hype. But unfortunately, many of the promises are yet to unfulfilled. And there have been talk about building super highways, the super expressways, But what is required in this part of the world is not a super highway. What is required is just the improvement of the existing highways. Say, as for example, I born and brought up in Manipur. So the condition of national highways, starting from More to Imphal, then Dimapur, and I have been, at least in a year, I have been traveling by bus on this highway. But in the last 15, 20 years, the condition of these highways have not improved, has not improved, has not changed. So therefore, the idea of, say building super highways and the super expressways is, what I see is largely a mere slogan. So there has been, in the context of the look is policy vis-a-vis the Northeast, there is a saying that too much talk with no action. So that kind of saying is there. So now I conclude. So there are various initiatives, but there are also challenges. So many challenges are there. So what I feel is very important is that, as I have said in the beginning, the Northeast is so broad, it's so so therefore you have to know the needs and aspirations of the region as a whole, but at the same time you also need to know the needs and aspirations, the concern of the specific states. As for example, the needs and concern and aspiration of Manipur is different from that of Tripura or from that of Assam. So that has to be factored into mind. So what I did is that in the context of this, everybody talks about the conflict in Manipur or conflict in Singh. So what I see is that these conflicts are low intensity. And there is a tendency to blame the insurgency for all wrongs in the Northeast. But there are good news also. No? The good news is that, so when we talk to the people in Delhi, in the government circle, or in, say, in Manipur, oh, this is Manipur, so you can't do anything here. Yeah, everybody has that kind of mindset. Arey, Manipur mein hone se to kuch nahi hoga. That kind of, mindset is there in the minds of the people of the, But you see, what is going on is that when we went to Manipur in last March, we interacted with several local entrepreneurs. So two of them, I must record that, see, two of them, they are all medical doctors. One of them is running, two of them are running their own hospitals in Imphal. And one of them, he used to bring about 200 to 300 patients from Myanmar to Imphal every month. So they're kind of, but there are also the positive development. There are local entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs who are doing. So when we met these local entrepreneurs, earlier when we met other people, they only give about the negative news about the insurgency-prone, the so-called the insurgency-prone Manipur. But when we talk to some of these entrepreneurs, they are all medical doctors who are, and you see, believe me, in Manipur, they are building 5-star hotels in Imphal. So this is the situation. No one can, believe that, Manipur will have a 5-star hotels. So therefore, when we talk to many of these entrepreneurs, what is very striking is that some of them, none of them, talk about the negative, they talk only about the positive sides of the, So that is also, that has emerged, in this kind of, the situation. So therefore, to conclude, what I will say is that northeastern states and the western part of Myanmar share several commonalities in terms of their development and the culture. Northeast states also look forward for a politically stable and prosperous Myanmar. Likewise, the western part of Myanmar also look for a prosperous Northeast India. So, favorable political and economic transformation in India can bring far-reaching implications for some of the northeastern states, if not all the states. Both sides could benefit more from each other. At the same time, both sides must not expect too much within a short time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amarjeet. I don't know how much time we have for Q&A now, but I think we can take a couple of questions. If you, sure.
That's a very interesting question, in fact. Firstly, this is probably one of the best sessions in the entire program. Very interesting session, in fact. Jiten has asked me, this attack, ambush in Chandel in the month of June, why was KYKL and KCP, Khanklaipak Communist Party, involved by the NSCNK? Well, a day after the ambush had taken place, 18 soldiers killed, the press release says that 3 insurgent outfits involved in the attack, NSCNK, KYKL and KCP. For people who don't know, let me tell you, NSCNK is a Naga outfit. The rest of the 2 outfits, KYKL and Khanklaipak Communist Party, they are from Imphal Valley in Manipur. Now the question is why they got involved. KYKL has never been known to, has never got itself engaged in such large-scale operations. This is the first occasion. They were basically into moral policing in Imphal Valley, reforming the education system and so on and so forth. Now, my information suggests, whatever I've written in Caravan Magazine, caravanmagazine.in, a series of, before the formation of UNLFW, United National Liberation Front, that joint forum, coalition, a series of meetings were held in Taka in Myanmar between in the third week of March, which extended till the first week of April. The press release was issued on 17th of April. KYKL was asked to clarify its stand whether you'd like to maintain your relationship with NSC and IM or come along with us. You cannot have two policies. Because KYKL cadres were known to be very close to with NSC and IM, which is overground outfit, and negotiating with the government of India right at the moment. So these Naga, Khaplang and the rest of the groups, non-Meitei group, non-Manipuri groups told KYKL, you spell out your stand clearly. If you want to remain close with NSC and IM, you get out of here. No relationship with us. So they said, okay, give us some time. There was no question of snapping ties with NSC and Khaplang because they lose their base in Myanmar. So they said, okay, fine. After a few days, they said, fine, we are not having any relationship with NSC and IM any longer. So that is one reason. They were sort of blackmailed. Blackmailing is not the right word, maybe arm twisting. Because when that meeting was held, there were how many groups? 6, 7, 10 groups. Khaplang, the Naga chief whose photograph I had shown, Paresh Boro Alpha chief, they were very upset because the Manipuri groups, 6 groups, did not sign on the joint declaration. The reason being, UNLF raised some objections. UNLF, as I've shown the photograph, is the largest underground outfit in the Northeast right at the moment, 2,700 cadres if I'm not wrong. So UNLF said that we already have a coalition among the Meitei group, Manipuri groups called Coordination Committee. We will take a decision among ourselves and then we'll spell out our stand, but we give you our moral support. But Khaplang, Paresh Barua of Alpha said, okay, fine, so long you don't put your signature, we are going to conduct operations in Chandel. You will have to tell us whether you will take part with us or not. So KYKL had no option actually. KYKL said, okay, we are going with you for the operation. Now KCP, Khanklaipak Communist Party, has 14 factions, 14 or 15 factions. This is one insurgent group in the Northeast that has splintered the most. There is no such record earlier. Now this KCP faction in Myanmar, Taka and other areas, this is perhaps the smallest rebel group among all the 10 outfits. I am not counting KLO because KLO doesn't have any camp so far as I know. It's almost a finished group. The second smallest group is the NDAB. Now recent inputs suggest that they have recruited some cadres. Their group has grown slightly larger. So KCP is in a very bad situation in terms of human resources and financial resources. They are heavily dependent on the Nagas. So my perception is that KCP had also been arms twisted. They said, okay, you come along with us. Pripak Pro, now my input suggests that even Pripak Pro was told that you come and take part in the operation against Indian army in Chandel, but somehow Pripak Pro got left out. These two Meitei groups joined hands with Khaplangs, they did a Rakhee and then they carried out the ambush. This is whatever I have heard actually and whatever I have written. KYKL part is confirmed.
Thank you.
They were asked to spell out their stand actually.
Any other?
For giving me the insightful information which I don't have.
In fact, I'll send you the web links. In fact, I had written all this in Caravan magazine. I can send you the web links in fact.
But what I'm trying to say is that insurgency is not a problem.
Yes.
We need to understand this aspect. Insurgency is not a problem. The only problem is the attitude.
Perception.
The perception.
True, very true.
We need to understand, we need to reorient the attitude of the people, of the general people, I should say. We need to reorient the attitude and these things, first, so that we can accommodate whatever the northeastern people perceive. There should be a synthesis of these two perceptions. Then we can go forward. So without having this kind of synthesis, we cannot think of this India-Myanmar relation.
True.
If we want to look from this northeastern perspective. Side by side, as my brother has also said, this border region, in this Moretamu sector, we have marketplace, but it turns into refugee camps. On the other hand, you have Nampalong. It's day by day, it's, flourishing. See the different dynamics. More is once upon a time a town, but because of this ethnic intrigues, it turns into, degrade from the township, and then they want that ADC status only. So Tamu becomes a district, and the More is not even a township. And Tamu is, run by a, DC, sitting at DC, but in More, it's, looked after by an ADC. So when the BLO meeting started, there is a, difference in the rank and file also. So you cannot mess up whatever the things, which you want to relay. So there is a big gap. But on the other hand, I don't find any armies, which is loitering around the More or, the Tamu or Namphalung sector. But on the other hand, from every single 100 meters, you'll find boots and guns in those areas. Why is it so? We are talking about this border fencing. As I've said, it's the blur between, during those agreements of 1967. And on the other hand, the army is making a fence. Half of the, if you go to this Gobazang, half of the church belongs to Myanmar, and then the rear part belongs to Imphal, Manipur. Like that, it's happening in Nagaland also. See the dynamics, and yeah, people are talking about this migration also. No, to my understanding, yes, some are mentioning of this ILP. The labor migrant is not the issue. The only issue is those who are settled down in that small area. In the developmental aspect also, this BRO, Greek people, they ill off the hill people. And then there is a good sizable amount I found in this More, this border area. And they settle down, those human population. And what about the Singh population who are infiltrating inside northeastern region, apart from that Bangladeshi migrants? We need to understand, these are the things we need to negotiate, these are the things we need to understand. And then, this insurgency is not a problem. It's something, people are trying exaggerating the issues,
No, army paramilitary has a vested interest in keeping insurgency alive.
Of course, it's becoming a lucrative business,
No, they get special allowances. It's a notice is a ground for promotion. Whether somebody likes it or not, this is a fact that has to be accepted.
Yeah, that's why, we need to compare the two measures, the army measure who is posted in Delhi, and the army measure who is posted in that Imphal, see the economic structure, see the difference there household.
Sure.
From that only you'll find the things, It's becoming a lucrative business here, this counter-insurgency, which is not an issue in the region.
Source money, huge amounts of unaccounted source money.
Thank you.
That's the whole thing.
I think there are four takeaways from this session. I think one is that local perspective is critical when it comes to Northeast and Myanmar. The second, to my mind, is we need to keep our expectation low when it comes to our engagement with the Myanmar. Third is we need to be more pragmatic in initiating the policies as far as Northeast is concerned. And of course, the last point is there's a need to relook at the concepts and notions of the Northeast and the borderlands of Myanmar and India. Perhaps one missing aspect here in this presentation, in this session, is while we have a very good panelists from the Indian side, it would have been lovely if we have some Burmese side also from Kachin, Chin,
right.
and Sagaing division. Perhaps that's for the next time. Anyway, thank you so much, panelists and also. Thank you.
But again, maybe I want to contribute one point here. I can understand that Northeast is looking forward to Myanmar for possible better future. I think I have two good news to convey to you. One is we are hoping we will have a more stable and politically mature government by 2016 March, after this election. It's going to be more politically mature. That's a key point, okay? The second point, we have recently awarded ONGC to go for petroleum exploration in Block B2, which is about the same latitude as Moray. And according to their program, they are supposed to start the drilling program maybe 2 years from now. And as a geologist I can say that the block they are awarded is a good block. At least they have about 6 geological structures to test. I'm quite, let's say, optimistic that they are going to make some sort of discovery, and this would help develop and improve the situation in Northeast states. Thank you very much.
Myanmar in some blocks.
ONGC is already working in the Shui gas field as a partner. They are already fetching some of the revenue from Shui gas field from export. But this is additional block they are awarded onshore.
Thank you, sir. I think if there's no more comments, question, conclude this session, and it's too late. Thank you so much, the panelists and the participants.